Joining me now, the one and only Sheriff David Clarke, America's Sheriff. Sheriff, thanks for being with us.
John, as always, it's my pleasure. Thanks for the compliments there. I had a good time, fun time doing your show, and my goal was to protect the brand. It's not about me, and I hope I didn't chase too many of your viewers and listeners away.
No, you spiked my ratings. You elevated both our brands, and so I thank you for that. So we always love having you on. I know your time is very precious and valuable, and I honor it and appreciate it. No better person to have on today but Sheriff Clarke. I want your assessment of the Minneapolis mob situation, the shooting, and now President Trump appears to be trying to negotiate something with Walz. Just lay it out for us. What is going on here, Sheriff David Clarke?
All right. Well, I'm not the smartest guy in the room or in the world, and I don't have to be, but I study and I drill down into things, and I've been dealing with this counterinsurgency, and that's what it is. It still has not been identified properly and effectively by the government resources. These are low-level insurgents. They're well-funded, well-organized. They have a great communication system, sharing information. It is the kind of thing, and that's why going back to George Floyd is when I started studying this, and I've been versed, by the way, before that, on riot management by a former CIA agent who studied this stuff inside the United States. So that's where I learned from. And then he started sending me information. I started reading up on it, and I was intrigued by it. But I understand what this is. I don't think the federal government does. This is low-level insurgency, the type used in guerrilla warfares in third world countries to topple the government. Well, it's here in the United States now. It's domestic, but the playbook is here. It started in the George Floyd riots. It actually started in Occupy Wall Street. And that's when the intel services, the United States should have been on top of this, and they weren't. Okay, they don't have the intel. I heard one government official the other day say, we're starting to look into and identify. No, this should have started during the George Floyd riots. And even after that, there should have been after action where they could have learned what low-level insurgency looks like. So you have the proper resources. The FBI is not prepared for this. ICE is not prepared for low-level insurgency operations. And so what you have here is a mess, okay? The president now has dispatched Tom Homan, who's a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, smart guy, but I'll tell you what, I don't know that he's versed in low-level insurgency operations. Only the military is, which is why I was praying that the president, when he said he was going to invoke the Insurrection Act, that he would, because then you can get the military in there. They can set up operations to start to identify these individuals and tear the infrastructure down. That's not happening right now, but that's what needs to happen.
Isn't the opposite happening?
I don't know if the opposite, but they're not prepared for this. This isn't being hypercritical, but you know what? I'm tired of seeing these ICE agents getting pushed around, slapped around. They don't have the resources. They don't have the intel. They don't have the, for lack of a better phrase, the air support they need to get this job done. So I wouldn't have a problem with the president ordering that ICE pull back a little bit, but that void has to be filled. I'd only do that if you're going to call the military in to fill that void, set up their operations, and then you can get ICE back out there doing what they do with the cover of the U.S. military. The only way you're going to tear down a low-level insurgency infrastructure and operations is with the military. Why the military? Because they're prepared for this. Now, I understand there's a lot of people that don't have a stomach for this, John. I'm reading it every day the last 48, 72 hours with all these weak-kneed Republicans in Congress. They're all getting scared. Oh, I think we should pull back. Oh, the worst thing you could do, John, at this juncture is to pull back, because then you've allowed them to capture that ground, and they're going to go on to other cities. They already have these operations up and underway, which is why they were able to go from Portland quickly to Los Angeles, quickly to Chicago, then quickly to Minneapolis. And they'll go on from there. So It's a mess. You can get it back under control, but I don't think you can do it unless you lose the resources of the military.
When you say this is a lower level insurgents to topple the government, can you expound on that, Sheriff Clarke?
Yeah, it's not high level. These are goofs, ragtag bunch of people. That's why I said it's a guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare is used and is fought by a ragtag bunch that doesn't have the resources of the government. I mean, they could squash this thing within 72 hours, but you don't want to be too heavy handed because you'll lose the support of the American people and you have to win that front as well. So that's why I say it's low level. It's not high level. This isn't Osama bin Laden type stuff or Al Qaeda or ISIS. This is more the third world type things that you see when they topple African nations, when you see them topple mainly sub-Saharan African nations. All right. So, but these guys are easy to identify. They've been in all these cities, the same people at street level. Let me take a minute to show you some of the resources and how organized they are. Again, this is because I read and I drill down. Signal groups at 1,000 members cap per zone, dedicated roles, mobile chasers, plate checkers, logging vehicle data into shared databases, 24/7 dispatch nodes, vectoring assets. Goes on to say here, assets on suspected federal vehicles, daily chat rotations and time detentions to frustrate forensic recovery, vetting processes for new joiners, mutual aid from sympathetic local groups like teachers unions, so on and so forth. That's how organized this thing is, John. And what you want to do in dismantling the infrastructure, they have people embedded within the true protesters, misguided people, but true protesters. So they embed their foot soldiers in there. Those are the ones that are starting the trouble. Those are the ones that are encouraging the real protests, people who are just misguided. But they're the ones they're trying to initiate conflict and contact with ICE and federal agencies. They want the fight. They want what happened to Renee Good. They can use that as a ruse. They want what happened to this other guy over the weekend. Those people are being used. They don't know it, but they are. That's why I call them misguided. But the real actors in this operation, they're at street level too. So when I heard, like I said the other day, a government official say, well, we're starting to look into the fun. John, it's way late for that. It's not too late. That should have happened in Portland, and that was like early this year. It's early the next year now. And they're just starting to, and I still don't think they understand the nature of the enemy.
So what should we do?
This is where it gets a little dicey, all right? Because I don't want to get out ahead of the president of the United States, who I support fully in these ICE operations. He's got to make some personnel changes, I think. I think it was a good thing to send Tom Homan, but not for dismantling low-level insurgency infrastructure and operations, but to get his arms around these things in terms of command and control. All right, Kristi Noem doesn't have it, John. I'm sorry. I'm being honest here. I don't come on your show to blow smoke up people's dresses and so on and so forth. I'm here to give people the information I think they need to have in order to move forward in terms of putting pressure. Anybody who's got one of these Republican congressmen who in the last 48 hours have called for suspending this operation, their office needs to be flooded with calls. They need to be primaried. We got some elections coming up soon. Get rid of those people. They're hurting, John, because part of what this intel operation by these insurgencies do is they use that sort of thing to change the mind of the American people and win public sentiment. Public opinion matters in this country, and it's already starting to drop. These ICE operations. Just a couple weeks ago, a month ago, I think support for what ICE was doing was up in the mid to high 60s. It's now into the 50s, which means they're losing the messaging, John. You have to have public opinion on your side. So I think changing some personnel, changing strategy, It's for the president to decide if he wants to invoke the Insurrection Act. It's not for David Clarke. I think he should, but I don't advise the president. He has his own advisors, but it's getting late in terms of public opinion. Once public opinion shifts to where it's heavy against this, they're done.
How close are we to that?
Time's running out. Let's just put it that way.
So I was very disappointed, as you, in a lot of the Republican congressmen, and that looked like what probably got in President Trump's ear, calling him and texting him over the weekend, peeing down their leg, crapping their pants, all nervous about what's going to happen, and they don't like the optics, and it's not comfortable, and et cetera. And so I think that was a shift, because if you look at the president's Truth Socials over the weekend on Saturday, Friday night and Saturday, they were very strident, and they were very in your face, and they were like, this guy had a gun, he shouldn't have been there, et cetera. And then all of a sudden it went to, I had a really nice conversation with Governor Walz. This is after, basically blasting Walz and Fry, and then it's like, well, I got a good conversation. We're going to try to get something worked out. I guess that's a good thing, but like the shift was palpable. Palpable, and it's like, wow, what happened? And then you start seeing the clips. Yeah, Newt Gingrich going on Fox, and Trey Gowdy on Fox, and this one on Fox, and that one on Fox, and Comer goes to Fox, that's all he does. He doesn't do anything else. They're all going on Fox and saying, we need to get out of there, and this needs to stop, and right? And then the president says, well, I'm going to send Tom Homan, and to me it was like, I'm going to negotiate, a surrender. I mean, that's what it sounded like. I'm sure they're not going to do that, but that was a perception that many of us got, Sheriff.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into interpreting some of those messages, but excuse me. The president's support on his side is strong. It's going to stay strong. The Republican Congress is in the way. They've been in the way of this president ever since he got reelected. This is nothing new. These are cut and run Republicans. They have no courage. They have no backbone. Because things get a little tough, you can't give up. You can't. We could overwhelm, the United States military could overwhelm this low-level insurgency in no time flat.
Mm-hmm.
All right? But like I said, you don't want to be too heavy-handed, because the American people, and then on the world stage, it's going to turn against you.
Mm-hmm.
And John, I'm sorry, but I don't mean that just a figure of speech. I'm sorry, but public opinion matters in this country, and the president has to pay attention to that. So the messaging has to be different. The messaging has to be better. Get back in control of the messaging so that public opinion, they start to understand.
What should the messaging be?
That the topic of illegal immigration and what it's doing to this country in terms of the crimes, all these people. And when they started, they were winning it, putting the pictures up of these illegal aliens who were in the country, rapists, robbers, murderers, putting their pictures up there, always on offense. The message was always on offense when this thing started, a year ago in January, February. Okay, then as time went on, Kristi Noem, who saw this, who sees, I think, her position more as like, she's on the cover of some glamour magazine or whatever. She's just spewing out statistics. We arrested 10,000 today. First of all, there are 20 million estimated 20 million illegal aliens in the United States. 10,000 of them is a drop in the bucket. All right. I think it was smart to go after the criminals. But then when they lost the message was when they laid off the message. This one the other day about ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old kid. That's the type of propaganda this low-level insurgent infrastructure does. They utilize. That kid wasn't kidnapped. The father ran away and left the kid with the ICE agents. He was an illegal alien. They should have been out quicker with that. You got to stay out ahead of this and in front of it. They should have been out quicker with what really, what really transpired there. So you can't always play defense. And too often, these operations they're playing, they're on defense. You got to get back on offense.
Well, I think we got a short period of time to do that, or otherwise, like you say, the messaging is going to be lost. I had Todd Sheets on earlier and said if things escalate, this could be what he called the LBJ Vietnam Kent State moment, where you lose the country, you can't get it back. I don't think we're there right now, but I think they're letting. I mean, I look at this, Sheriff, and I'm just dumbfounded on how we let the mobs and the left control this narrative. It's unbelievable to me. And the fake news, I've said this now for weeks. I'm in the briefing room with them. I know them. I've never seen them like this. They're in feeding frenzy overdrive because they see the blood in the water, so to speak, shark expression, right? They see victory in the midterms as their only salvation, and it's right there, and they're ramping everything up, and the lies they spew out are unbelievable. And we don't really have an apparatus right now to battle that. And we have lost the messaging, and it's sad because we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is just an effective use of propaganda. Propaganda, as you know, is a war tool, right? Control the minds of the people who are back home or whatever, just watching on TV. You got to have better strategy to counter the propaganda, the effective propaganda, and you have to start using some of your own. You don't just need to respond to their propaganda. The federal government should start to use propaganda. I would, this gets a little dicey, and because I don't want to get out ahead of the president, I want to make that clear. I don't want any calls today about, how come you got out in front of the president? I'm not doing that, John. But if I were advising him, you know who I'd have leading the messaging on this? Stephen Miller.
Bingo.
He's one of the most effective messengers that this administration has. So that's what I mean when I say get your arms around this thing. Command and control. Okay, this person's going to be in charge of this. And I said, you got to bring in some new people. All right. He's one, for example. I could name some others. I don't want to get into specific people.
No, but I love that idea. And he got right out in front of this on Saturday early. He got right out in front of it. And he said, this was an act of domestic terror. Let's call this what it is. These are domestic terrorists. I mean, you call it low-level insurgents, which is, I think, even clearer, but they kind of dovetail. And these people are there to topple the United States government. They're not there because they want to save some rapist or child molester.
That's got nothing to do with it.
Stop the nonsense. It's got nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it.
They want to topple the U.S. government. They want a communist regime in its place. They want to be at the top of the fraud heap. And every time they see one of these illegals deported, they see their power base going away because Biden got them the 20 million they wanted, and now they're right there. They're shocked they couldn't win 24, and now they're determined to keep them here. They can't get any additional ones in. And so this isn't about you're arresting somebody that tried to rape a 15-year-old, okay? It's not about that.
No.
It's about toppling the U.S. government. That's what they're trying to do. And you nailed it. If you look at the coordination on Signal, including statewide elected officials like that nitwit, imbecilic lieutenant governor they got, I mean, it's an elaborate scheme. It's not a bunch of people that were on an X chat and got together to protest something. This thing is an organized insurgency at a lower level. It's a color revolution. We're not recognizing it for what it is, and we're letting them control the narrative now. And look, I'm all for sending Tom Homan there. Everybody thinks Tom Homan's the best, right? But what is he going to do? I mean, Trump should have sent the military in 2 weeks ago, like he said, cordoned them off, checkpoints everywhere. That guy Alex would still be alive. Renee Good would still be alive because they couldn't have gotten in there. This is the point that I'm making. It makes no sense the way we've gone about this. And now, basically, my fear is they take the series of events coming out and basically position it as the mob won, which then further encourages signal chats, coordination, and they get more money. Because if they can do it in Minneapolis, they can do it anywhere. Dallas.
And they will. They have their operations already set up, John, in anticipation of that. And it's mainly in these blue cities. When you say, well, Dallas is in Texas, Dallas is a blue city. Okay. As is Austin. They were talking about going there. And so they're already, they already have their resources staged in these areas.
And they just ship them from one area to the next. I told a story with a guy that is one of my callers was in Grand Rapids going to Richmond or something. And he's like, saw 6 or 8 of them all talking about how they're getting paid $600 a day. They're from Grand Rapids at the Grand Rapids Airport in Michigan, flying to Washington, D.C. through Richmond to go up the interstate and participate in a rally at $600 a day, meals and hotel. I mean, this is a coordinated effort. They're getting paid, they're getting more money, and we're sitting around not controlling the narrative. I mean, it's just maddening.
Well, you just nailed it in terms of messaging. That's the kind of messaging that we need to hear from, the Secretary of Homeland Security, but you're not, and you're not going to. It's just that she's not prepared for this. I don't mean to, run the bus over her, but she's not prepared for this sort of thing. So what's important is when you're not prepared, you need to surround yourself with people and bring people in around you that do know what they're doing and can help you. But she hasn't done that, which is why the president had to dispatch Tom Homan. She should have asked for Tom Homan to come in and just, and help her get her arms around this thing, because the optics matter. And you got to start using these phrases that you just used, which is why I said you nailed it. Domestic terror, low-level counterinsurgency, paid individuals, infrastructure. You have to use that language to convince the American people of what this is. Okay.
I mean, they're making it sound like, hey, these are just Minnesota residents that are upset that ICE is there, and they're stopping people on the street and they're outraged by it, and they get up every day and they look out their window and they say, let me get a piece of cardboard and make a sign, and let me go down there and protest. It's not what this is. There's no signs with a piece of cardboard and a Sharpie. These are paid protesters. Everything is coordinated. Everything is professional. Everything they do is choreographed. And you got the government, you got the elected officials out there saying, take your phone, record everything, put it up on the internet, because better you do that than, we get arrested for being part of this $20 billion fraud that's there. I mean, that's what's going on. We refuse to tell it like it is, and that's why we're going to lose this narrative if they don't change it. And you're right, Miller's the guy. He's the only one that got out there and called this for what it is. And of course, he got vilified, and of course, the Republic. And then, I tell you what, I don't mean to get off on this, but Jim Comer hasn't done a freaking thing ever except go on Fox News. And what does he do again on Sunday? Maria Bartiromo, Fox News again, whining about, the optics aren't good. If they don't want us there, we should leave and go to a state where they really want us. Like, we could put more in Memphis, and we can go here or go there, but we shouldn't be here. What the guy's ever done? Like, I live in Washington, D.C. He's head of oversight. What's he ever done here? Right? This government is so messed up. He could make the change. They never make it, because he wants to pick up a shoe like the old guy on Get Smart, Don Adams. He wants to pick up a shoe and call Fox News. That's all he does. So therein lies the frustration.
Well, the Republicans in Congress are useless, and I, as a body, all right. And I know some people say, "Oh, this guy's good. Jim Jordan's good." You know what? He's not effective if they can't. And Speaker Johnson, who I thought has done a pretty decent job so far, under the circumstances. He doesn't even have, 100% of the Republicans in the House on board with him in the direction that they're moving. Their job is to help push. The Republicans in Congress, their job is to help the president push. You know that phrase? I said it the other day. The tush push. That's what their job is. Get behind the quarterback, and when a ball is snapped, to push forward through the defense. Okay? They don't have any courage. I'm not surprised at what's going on there. John, think about this. You have about 8, I think I read the other day, GOP members who support defunding the Department of Homeland Security, for heaven's sakes. And they're going to allow the Democrats to use this as a reason to either get their way or to shut the government down. So you don't even have all the Republicans on board. Defund ICE. We've gone back to, remember, defund the police? Remember that?
That's unbelievable. You have Republicans in Congress that are supporting defunding ICE. It's like, why do we even have a party? I mean, what is the purpose of it?
And then, there's another thing, too, that's important in terms of the messaging to get the American people to understand the impact of illegal immigration in this country. It isn't just the criminals. At some point, they're going to have to move beyond that. It is estimated that illegal immigration costs the American taxpayers $180 billion a year in terms of healthcare costs, in terms of education, schools, and the cost of crime. 180 billion. John, this isn't illegal immigration. It's not sustainable. But see, when you explain it like that to the American people, I think at least it would cause them to pause and go, wow, I didn't realize that. Your schools are underfunded because of this. Your local schools. So you can make this message local too. But, I don't know. Doesn't seem like anybody wants to listen to David Clarke.
All right, listen, good segue to football. Seattle installed 5.5-point favorite over New England. Who do you like?
Seattle.
Me too. We were very lucky. I bet Seattle to win the Super Bowl after the San Francisco game, and I got plus 185. Now, if you try to bet him to win that game, you're, I think, minus 280. So I made a good bet there. But yeah, I like Seattle. I just think they're bigger, faster, stronger. That defense is really good. And so I think Sam Darnold got the monkey off his back. They said he couldn't win.
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't.
What?
No, he hasn't. He's got to win the Super Bowl now.
Well, I think he's going to do that. I mean, he basically led Seattle to those key scores, but that defense at the end, pretty amazing. They had the 4th and 5. Now, if I'm you're in a game like this, I would have kicked the field goal. I was happy they didn't because we laid.
Couldn't believe it.
Well, I laid 2.5. If they kick the field goal, I lose that game. So I was happy. Figured worst thing I can do is lose it in overtime. You kick the field goal, I can't win. But if you kick the field goal, when they got the ball back, they don't have to go 70 yards. They don't have to go 40 yards to have a shot to win it if they had kicked the field goal. Same thing with Sean Payton. I bet Denver in that game. I took, 4? I'd have definitely kicked that field goal, especially with with a quarterback that hasn't played in three seasons. They kick that field goal, they win that game. So, we'll see what happens. But I like Seattle.
You got to play safe when you have a backup quarterback that hasn't thrown a pass in over a season and a half.
Yeah, I think so.
You got to play safe, and to put that guy in that situation where he threw that two-handed pass that was ruled a backwards pass. First of all, even with instant replay, I didn't think it was backwards, but they called it a backwards pass. He needed to take the sack. He panicked, and that's why you can't put him in that position to make mistakes like that.
It was like 3rd and 8. Like your defense has control of the game. Punt the football. Get 3 yards, punt the football, let New England try to go down there and get a score. They couldn't do it. They were going 3 and out. The defense got you there. If it was 3rd and 1, it'd be something that was 3rd and 8 on your 10. Like, just punt the football. I didn't like that. I didn't like that call that Peyton's offensive coordinator made. I didn't like going for the 4th and 2. I get, as he said at the end of the game, I thought 2 touchdowns would win. Take the field goal. Denver really should have won that game. I mean, New England had one legitimate drive, and they got 3 out of it. One drive they had in the whole game.
That's it.
One drive.
Right.
You're supposed to win that game. So I don't think New England wins. Okay, I'm going to get to, before I get to Paul in Georgia. So your Cubs, actually, they did something, right? It's like, hitting a rock with a stick. Like, hello, do something. They finally do something. They get Bregman. I know him, came up with us, Astros. Great guy, great teammate, gets hurt a lot, but I think it was a good move for the Cubs. I think they thought they needed locker room leadership. They didn't get that with Kyle Tucker. You're definitely going to get it with Bregman. I think he's going to make that team a better team.
And they needed a bat to replace Tucker. I mean, Tucker's stats were okay. They
Okay.
weren't bad, but you still got to replace that when you lose a guy like that. 25, 27 home runs, 90 RBIs. You got to replace that some sort of way. And to bring in that aspect of leadership with Bregman, I thought was a good move. And they're making some moves. Like I said, spring spring practice comes in, we'll see how they're going to use him because he's an infielder. They already have 4 infielders, so we'll see how they, I don't know, DH maybe.
Hey, when you get a bat like that and a clubhouse leader, you figure it out. Like I like Kyle Tucker, $60 million. The guy hit 275. He's an okay outfielder, has a really good arm. He was a 270 hitter. He's getting $60 million a year. You can't sustain this.
No.
You can't sustain it.
They made him a reasonable offer. They wanted to keep him, and he thought he could get more on the open market than he did.
But I don't think baseball can go on this way. I think there's got to be a salary cap. My fear is that the owners are going to cave, and I think they're going to be sorry. This is their last chance to get it, and I'm in favor of them shutting the season down in 2027 to get a cap. I think that saves the game. You can't go on with 3 teams buying up all the players. It just is not sustainable. Mets, Yankees, Dodgers. That's it. You just can't go on this way. And so the Dodgers don't care. Do you know that Dodgers luxury tax? So everybody understands it doesn't follow baseball. The luxury tax that they pay, which is not payroll, and it's not it's just what they pay for getting this payroll to MLB, which is then shared by all the other teams, is $167 million. That is more than the entire payroll of 7 teams. Their luxury tax is more than the payroll of Kansas City, Miami, Sacramento, Pittsburgh, and there's a couple others I can't think of. Twins, right? There's 5. I can't think of the other 2. It's more than 7 major league payrolls, just their luxury tax. You cannot sustain this.
No, there's no competitive balance anymore.
Yeah. So there has to be something. Okay, Sheriff, want to thank you for your time today. People want to follow you. Go to americasheriff.com, americasheriff.com. And you're right about everything you said. This is a low-level insurgency, and Republicans just don't understand it. And they cave like they always do. It's sad. It's sad that we're part of a party that just has no balls. One guy's got it. No backbone, no spine, nothing. But they love going on Fox News.
The surrender party.
The surrender party. Sheriff, thanks for being with us.